And welcome to episode number 15 of the QCast. I'm Bob Quillman. And through 14 episodes, I've had an assortment of coaches and other people related to Division III, some former players on the show. And it's time to bring the average age of the QCast guests down just a little bit. This is the first chance I've had to speak with a current Division III player. And I'm really honored today to have Nyameye Adom with me, the very talented junior from Wheaton College in Illinois, the reigning CCIW most outstanding player. Nyameye, I'm so happy that you've given me a little time to do this. How the heck are you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, I want to talk about a variety of things about the season and about you in particular. We'll get into a wide range of things related to the CCIW. But first, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Just tell us maybe a little bit about where you're from and your background, and then we'll jump into it. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, yeah, I'm from Orlando, Florida. Um, I was actually born in New York, grew up in Orlando, Florida, um, and kind of just been kind of really just played basketball my whole life. Ended up at Wheaton, and I don't know. I can't even. It's a very very crazy story, I guess. I'm not sure if you're gonna get into that later, but
Yeah, we'll jump at one of the things I want to ask you about is kind of who recruited you and how you picked Wheaton. So we'll definitely get into that because I'm really fascinated by all that stuff, by recruiting and how the talented kids that end up in the CCIW do. So I'm going to ask you that.
okay.
Let me start too, in just this season that we just finished. You guys had an amazing season. You finished 12-1. You finished ranked 8th in the country. And oh, by the way, you did so playing through a pandemic. What was this crazy season like, Nyameye, for you and your teammates and coaching staff as you kind of navigated this whole COVID-19 pandemic?
hmm I mean, it was definitely very weird. I mean, something that no one's ever like done before. And I think for us, it really started last, like when the pandemic first started last school year, when we all were out of school, and obviously just not sure what was going to happen next. Where we had a lot of team meetings over the summer and over last spring, and I think we all kind of just like, despite the circumstances, we all kind of just like bought in and we're like, whatever happens, we'll be prepared for. So I think that was like the first thing that was weird. Like we were preparing for a season that we didn't even know that
Right.
might happen. So I think there was a lot of fun, a very long preparation process. And then in the fall, it was just also again very weird because we were practicing hard for no games. We didn't play any games in the fall. We were practicing the entire time, um, practicing with masks on and like different COVID rules, like not being able to have full contact, just going through certain drills and things like that. And it was just like something we never expected to go through. But I think we were all just very thankful that we were still able to play in some way, despite all the COVID stuff that was happening.
Yeah, I
And then,
remember as a fan thinking through the months of like November when everyone went home for Thanksgiving, and the plan was, well, in 6 weeks we'll check back in and see what happens. I was pretty skeptical, Nami, on my end, that there was going to be a season. I'm just curious, at about Thanksgiving time, when you guys left campus, you went home, did you think you were going to play CCIW basketball in January, or were you a little skeptical too?
I mean, I think we were all kind of skeptical, but I think we all still had like the hope that we would play, especially because Coach Shower would always kind of give us updates on where things were, and he always told us that like he was pretty positive about things, that they were going to happen, but obviously still not sure. So I think all of us came and had the mentality where we're like, there's a chance we play, and if we do, like, let's be ready, because there's really no point in like thinking that we might not play, because like in case we do. So yeah.
Did it change how hard you prepared? Was it like in a normal season where you're guaranteed there's going to be a game on whatever date? I would think it makes it real easy to stay locked in. Did it change how you prepared, or how did it change the preparation process?
Yeah. I mean, I think at first it didn't really change much because we were all kind of just excited to at least practice. As it went on in the fall, though, it definitely got a little tedious just because we weren't sure when we were going to play or if we were going to play. Um, but I think our team mentality was just like, be thankful that we get to do this today because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I think we all kind of from the top down, kind of just passed that mentality down. We're like, all right, well, we might not be able to play next week, but we get to play today. And that's better than not playing at all. So I think that really just motivated us and kept us really going because um, as much as we want to play against other teams, we just love playing the game of basketball. So yeah, so I think that really helped us stay motivated and helped us like not have a drop off in how hard we were practicing and preparing. And also just our coaches, Coach Shower and Coach Panner, were just very always just on us about not letting one day go by without us getting better. So yeah.
The first time that I thought that maybe this was going to happen was, I guess, ironically, when I found out that your team was on a bus heading to the Shirk Center for a scrimmage.
Mhm.
And everyone did a pretty good job of keeping those scrimmages quiet. I got word of it like the morning of that. Hey, did you know Wheaton's coming down to the Shirk to play the Titans? And I was like, are you serious? Like that felt to me like the moment that maybe there's going to be a season because two teams are traveling and practicing.
Mhm.
Was that scrimmage? I mean, it was the first time you had played anyone except for your own teammate. Was that a kind of a cool thing to get to play, even though it wasn't a real game? What was that
Yeah,
experience like getting to scrimmage the Titans there in Bloomington?
it was a lot of fun. Just like you said, because we got to play another team for once, first of all, and also because it was IWU that we got to play. Um, and I think that was after we had gotten our schedule out too. We saw that we weren't playing them in the regular season,
Right.
which I was like we really wanted to. So I think it was fun getting to play in that scrimmage, and yeah, just being able to play another team like and also kind of also I think it was fun for us being able to travel away and play in another team's gym for the first time in however many months, was just a lot of fun because I mean as much as we love playing against each other, like it can get kind of rough just playing against your teammates all day every day. So yeah, I think we really enjoyed that, and it was that scrimmage was really good. I think both teams played very well that day, and then we were just having a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I think it turned out to be basically a draw. Those scrimmages, they reset the clock after each 20 minutes, but it was basically a tie. And that was kind of foreshadowing of the way this whole season would play out. We'll talk about kind of the way that the conference played out. We'll talk about that title game. I'm interested though, before we move on, and how you avoided, you and your teammates, your coaching staff, how you avoided testing positive, because I put myself back on a college campus, and I think it would be really hard to make all the right decisions and to keep testing negative, which was necessary just to play.
Mhm.
If anyone tested negative, you got postponements, cancellations. How did you have to live different this year in order to make this season work? Incredible sacrifices all around. I'm curious to have you talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think it was just like kind of God because like I don't feel like we didn't have any control over that really. I mean, just lots of like prayer because I don't know, but we definitely were encouraging each other and just staying on each other about making the right decisions. I mean, going places that were necessary and seeing people that were necessary, but like trying the best we can to like cut out interactions with people who we just either weren't on campus or didn't have to see. And obviously, I mean, stuff like that gets tough because I mean, we don't want to just sit in our rooms all day. But I think everyone was responsible enough. Everyone like cared about each other enough to make that sacrifice for each other so we can still play and testing negative like however many times we tested every single week. Um, yeah, I mean, it was tough. It's always like nerve wracking, like we're waiting for all of our results to make sure we all get a negative result. Um, just because one positive result can just shut us down for however long. And it was just like kind of became a game later on. We're like all sitting in the locker room, just like waiting to see like if anyone tests positive and we're all negative, then we all start celebrating or not to practice. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think, talk about the ultimate sacrifice. There's cliches around playing for each other and sacrificing for each other, but this season truly was the ultimate in that.
Mhm.
And you're the first current CCIW player that I've had on the QCast. And on behalf of you and all of the folks out there in Division III, just huge kudos and thank you, because what you guys had to do this year to provide a season that, quite frankly, helped all of us through the pandemic, to be able to watch CCIW games that felt normal and was, quite frankly, wonderful. So kudos to you guys, your teammates, everyone around the league. Division III couldn't have been easy. I don't know that I could have done it like you guys did. And you were one of the teams, Nyameye. You guys played a ton of games. You played 13 games.
Yeah.
Other teams, played 6, 7, 8. And boy, credit to you guys for doing all the right things. That was pretty cool stuff. Wanted to ask you about your background. So you're from Orlando, Florida. You mentioned you're originally from New York, kind of grew up in Orlando. And you were a great high school player. You were a 4-year varsity player. I think you were a 3-year starter. You were a captain. I'm always curious on the recruiting side of things. I love following action this time of year as kids are committing to various Division III schools, just the path they take to get there. When you were a high school senior, Nyameye, who are the schools that were on you? And if you're not comfortable saying the schools, maybe the levels, but like what kind of interest did you have outside of obviously Wheaton? Who else was on you?
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of the specific schools right now, honestly. There are a lot of a lot of Division III schools. Sorry. Um, yeah, so some that I'd never heard of before, and some that I still don't know now. It was a lot of Division III schools.
I still haven't
But
heard of
throughout,
most of the Division III schools. Don't feel bad.
but yeah, I mean, earlier on in the process, there were definitely not definitely there were some low low to mid major like Division I interest, a little bit of Division II interest, and then very very strong Division III interest. I remember first hearing from Wheaton like this summer going into my senior year, and I remember I think one of the coaches that first reached out to me was named Coach Culver. He's not at Wheaton anymore. I think he left the year I came in, but he passed me on to Coach Shower, and then Coach Shower started recruiting me from there. I remember at that time I still had a little bit of higher level interest, so I kind of like really liked Wheaton for some reason. Not really sure why. I liked it a lot, but I remember like talking to my dad about the whole recruiting process, about how kind of tough it was. Um, where I was like, yeah, like I have all these other higher level offers or not offers, interests, but for some reason I really like Wheaton. I can't tell you why why that was. It might just be God, but yeah, so it's kind of all over the place. And then kind of as my senior year progressed, the other interests and stuff started falling off, and Coach Shower and Wheaton just stayed strong and consistent throughout the whole process. And I remember my biggest thing was that I wanted to go somewhere where I was wanted and where I could like help and where I can compete for a championship. And I Coach Howard told me that all those things about Wheaton, and I felt like I could have all those things there too. So like I think I committed like late March after I took a visit. And I took a visit, I saw all the guys and stuff there, and I was like, this is where I want to be. I think the funniest story I have about like recruiting was Wheaton was the only Division III school I visited. I remember just thinking, not really knowing much about Division III at all at that point. I was like, okay, like Division III, I mean, it's probably good, but like, just like as a high schooler, you don't really think about Division III like that. And I remember coming in on my visit and coming in to play with the guys, and I was just thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go play and just be the best player here or whatever. And then I remember walking in like playing. I think I was on opposite teams, Aston and Luke Peters, and then the same team as like Kobe Eckelberger at the time, who are all like who graduated now. And I remember they were just like dominating me. Like I couldn't hang with them, and I was like, wow, either this team is just really good, or Division III way better than I thought it was. So I think that was like the turning point for me. I was like, wow, like this is like really good, and I want to play here because I could get challenged and I could fit here. So
it's such a good point in that the average high school senior doesn't really know much about Division III, especially in Orlando, Florida, where
Mhm.
there's no Division III presence close. I think a kid that's grown up in Naperville, Illinois, knows a lot about Division III because his
Yeah.
buddies go to Augustana or Illinois Wesleyan or North Central. But for you to come up, yeah, you're thinking, well, they want me to play, so I'm pretty much going to be the best player in the country. And then, oh, here's Aston Francis
Mhm.
and Tyler Peters in that group. Pretty cool story in that it was an eye-opening moment, probably the first time you realized how good Division III basketball was. Fair to say.
Yes, 100% fair to say.
And Wheaton has had this incredible long line of All-American superstar players, of which you're now part of. Just Kent Raymond. I don't know if you've ever
Mhm.
along the way met Kent Raymond, but he actually was very similar to you in game, kind of a combo guard that could do everything and shoot the heck out of it and get to the basket. Obviously, you played with Aston Francis, and just going all the way back, Wheaton has had these sensational All-American players leading the way. And so I'm always just very intrigued by how great players end up in Division III, because certainly, and I think you'd agree, you could be playing at a Division II level easily, and there's a ton of Division I schools that you could start for. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, the lines are very thin. When you,
Mhm.
you you think of all of the Division IIs and ones, there's a whole bunch of them that would love to have you, and you would start and do very well there.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk a little bit about Wheaton before we move on, because it's a really unique place
Mhm.
because of the faith side, the spiritual side of the school, which is part of its fabric. What's the culture like at Wheaton? Just talk to me about a little bit the campus, the school, and what it's like to be a student at Wheaton.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it at Wheaton, and I still love it at Wheaton. Um, the faith-based community is like the most unique thing about it, and probably the most attractive thing about it for Christians. I mean, I think the the faith-based like community is just like ingrained everywhere, like in the education, in athletics, and even in just living just with your friends or whatever. Um, I mean, for college, it's pretty strict just because of that stuff. Um, but I think that makes it even better. We just have to have fun with each other. Like we don't do a whole lot of the partying and all that stuff. But we just do so much things like in community with each other, like on the team, with our friends off the team, roommates and stuff like that, where um, we just find ways to just like interact and just grow with each other on deeper levels. Um, and even like on within the basketball team, it's kind of a tradition where we would have like small group like devotional times with each other, or even just times where the coaches would just talk to us about faith and about God and about Christianity and all that. And someone like me, like I love that stuff. I'm a strong Christian, so I think that's very important to life in general. And I think it's great that it's ingrained, especially like in the 4 years of college at Wheaton, because of how formative those years are. Um, but yeah, I enjoy the campus community and just campus culture a lot.
You said a couple things when we were talking about recruiting that Coach Shower and his staff did really, really well. And the first is they made you realize it was a fit for you.
Mm.
You use that word fit, and I think that's incredibly important. Any coaches that are listening to this is making it clear to your recruits that you're a fit. And the second thing is you felt wanted. A lot of schools don't do a terribly great job of that. They're kind of half recruiting somebody, but it was clear to you that Wheaton wanted you to come to Wheaton badly. Is that
Mhm.
fair to say? Like you really felt that they wanted you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's again, I think that's important for coaches to consider those two fronts. Is I think kids make decisions because it feels like the right fit and because they feel wanted. And if you can get those two things ingrained, that's probably 80% of recruiting. And After that, you can get into the financial side of it and the academic side. But boy, those two things are big.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your progression as a player at Wheaton. Is it correct that you missed your freshman year with injury? Do I have that right?
Yes. Hmm.
What was that injury? I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah, I tore my meniscus in my right knee.
So what was that like? So you missed, I mean, you get to school, you suffer an injury, you missed that season. Did you ever question whether you would get back on the floor? That's a pretty significant injury. It's one that a lot of people have and bounce back from, but it must have been tough to rehab and wonder if you're going to play again.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing about that was I actually tore my meniscus in my other knee senior year of high school.
Mm.
So I just had surgery that summer coming into my freshman year. And like 2, 3 weeks in, just working up like over gym, I tore the other one. And I think the one I tore in my freshman year was a lot worse of a tear. So when I like went to the trainers, whatever, they said it was gonna be like I'll be out for like 6 months or whatever it was, or it was like however much longer than the season it was. And yeah, I mean it was tough because I was kind of just like, well, I just tore my last one, I tore this one, so like who knows if I would even just like next time I play, I'll maybe what I'm saying, whatever, I might try something else. And it was just like it was hard for sure because I mean coming as a freshman, like just wanting to play, I was just so excited just watching everyone else play and um, you know, just wanting to help the team, being told that like I could help the team and then just feeling like I just was just sitting there. um, Definitely took a lot out of my like mental like focus and preparation and stuff like that just because yeah, just because of all of that. But I think the thing that helped me the most was definitely my teammates just encouraging me and just making me still feel like I was a part of the team and still wanted and still that I belong there. um, but yeah, I mean it was definitely tough just having to sit through practices and watch and just not
I'm
be able to do
sure.
anything.
The good news is, so you grinded through it, you get back, and you become a really important role player that next year. You played 24 minutes a game in 2018-19. You averaged 7 points and 3 assists a game on that team. And that was the Final Four team. We're going to talk about that squad. I want to get into what that ride was like. Must have been incredible. So you're averaging 7 points a game. Then the next year, you really became the guy. You know, in 2020, you averaged 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, your first team all CCIW. Now, all of a sudden, Nyameye Adom is a household name in the CCIW. This year, of course, you have a monster year. You have an All-American year, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. So you just got better and better every year. And I'm just curious, Nyameye, what that process is like, because that doesn't happen on accident. It doesn't just happen because you got older. There's a lot of work that has to go into your body and your shot and your game and being able to do different things. What has it been like to make that progression from role player 7 points a game to All-American 22 points a game?
Yeah, I mean I think a lot of it is definitely just the hard work. um just I mean just every day just waking up and going to the gym, shooting and getting in the weight room and lifting and just getting better, like consistently getting better. And I think that's just definitely the like hard work paying off just because I mean I feel like I put in that work since my freshman year and before that. And also just like I think a big thing was definitely um Coach Shower and the confidence he put in me, and also like older teammates. I remember a couple of like times on that 2018-19 Final Four team where like I just was playing that role position behind Aston and Luke Peters and those guys who are just really great players. Um, and them like encourage me like, hey, like even though you're a role player right now, like you're still very good. Like you're still gonna be able to help us out and do these things. And then just going into that next year where Coach Shire really just instilled in me that you like this is gonna be your team now. And like he told me like I put in the work and I've been through these things, had these experiences where he believes in me, he trusts me to lead the team for however long. And I think that's what really just like turned the page for me was him telling me that and him saying that he really believed in me, knowing that I could do these things, like, and just translating to that next year, the second year, where things kind of just opened up, and then just kind of kept rolling from there.
Coming into this season, the one that we just finished, you had to have had a pretty big mindset on what you could accomplish in your team coming off, 19 points a game the year before. You had to feel sky high coming into 2020, 21. Is that fair to say?
I mean, yeah, I'd say I felt pretty good. Yeah, pretty confident.
Yeah, and it's such a great league too. To be able to be one of the top players in one of the top leagues in Division III is a pretty cool thing. I want to talk about that Final Four team in 2019. I watched most of the games that led up to that and through. I think I watched all of your playoff games actually. But you get into the tournament and you've got to play Augustana at their place in the Sweet 16. So first of all, you win the first two rounds. Impressive performances. I want to say, were you guys out at Worcester? Were you at Ohio?
Yeah, Worcester.
I think you had to play the host school. I think you played Worcester, and two really impressive games. So now you get sent to CCIW rival Augustana in Rock Island. They have it rolling. I don't know what they were rated, but it was either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was that stretch of years where they were in the top 5 the whole time. They have it rolling at the Carver Center. Sweet 16 game. You guys come in and knock them off and out of the tournament. They may have been the favorite to win the national championship. What do you remember about the Augustana game in the NCAA tournament there in Rock Island and that win?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was huge. I remember going into it, we knew it was going to be like a huge crowd, and we knew that it was going to be a very hype game. And I think the funniest part was like for some of our play calls, we knew we weren't going to be able to hear each other. So I think for every play, we came up with a signal just in case like we wouldn't be able to hear it. And we needed them because we couldn't hear a thing that we were saying because it was packed. And obviously it was a great game. I think it was a pretty good like back and forth game. And I'm pretty sure we had lost in the regular season too. So we kind of had that motivation and also just wanting to win a national championship. So it was kind of just a whole lot, just like piled on top of each other. The fact that it was Augustana, the fact that it was in the tournament, it was at their place. They were top team in the country. So it was just, I think I can just say it was a lot of fun. And just beating them in their place was probably one of the most like satisfying feelings also, just because they're a huge rival and we just want to beat them so bad.
And how about your guy, Gavin Hawkins, made 2 or 3 monster threes. He was at the time a sophomore, I guess. And I think all of his shots that I remember were at like the left wing or over on the left side. He just kept making these big shots. And that had to be the moment you're like, hey, it's not just Aston. Everyone is making big shots. That had to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it was. And those were huge. I remember all of those.
So you go home, you go back to your hotel there in Rock Island, and you have a game to go to the Final Four. So you know you're going to play Marietta, great team out of the OAC. What are the thoughts heading into the Marietta game? I mean, neutral court, you're going to be playing in an almost empty gym. None of the Augie fans are there. So what are the thoughts heading into the Marietta game?
Yeah, I mean, really just another game. And really, I think the message was just like, if we do the things that we know we're supposed to do, like we have a very good chance of winning. And I think that was just, we came in we're going to play as hard as we could and just execute. And because I mean, not a team we knew, so kind of just didn't have much time to scout them either. So it's kind of just do our thing, execute, and then play hard.
And then Aston Francis, I mean,
he
scored 62 points, and it was a good 62. Is there a bad 62? Like, it was 62 where his final 2 baskets were a 3 to tie it and then a 3 to win it. I've never seen anything like what he did in that game. And by the way, it seems weird to say, it was a team effort. Like, you guys hit some big shots that weren't Aston Francis baskets, but Just talk about what he did in that game in scoring 62 in the Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just playing with him in general was just amazing. Just seeing someone do that. And I think just kind of early in the game, he just hit his first like 5 or 6 threes or whatever it was, and we're just like, all right, well, this is one of those games again, and all you can do is really just kind of sit back and just like play your role, but just watch him just do what he does. And so then the rest of us were kind of just like hitting the shots that we had to hit, and then all doing everything else to ensure that we win the game, while he just kind of put the scoring load on his back and just did what he does best. So it was amazing to be a part of and just like kind of watch what happened. And it kind of is obviously very fun that we won the game too. So
What was that experience like in Fort Wayne at the Final Four? I think Division III does a wonderful job of rolling out the red carpet and making it feel big time, which it is. What was that like getting to play in the Final Four?
it was a lot of fun. I mean, playing in the gym that we played at, having like hit a pretty big nice locker room. We had like police escort to the games off the bus and stuff like that. And just being able to play on that stage was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, none of us had been there before, and we just decided it's going to be a lot of fun to play and just going to compete our best to try and win it.
You played Oshkosh really tough. I was there in the gym, and I thought you played Oshkosh really tough. They won it all. They beat Swarthmore the next night fairly convincingly for the national championship. I thought they did a great job of making it super hard on Aston Francis. He had 30 some points, but I thought he worked really, really hard for him. What your takeaways from playing the eventual national champs, Oshkosh, who you played earlier in the year? Those are two great matchups.
Yeah, I mean, we had beat them earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And it's funny that the first matchup, they were just hyping up that matchup a lot, and I had no idea who Oshkosh was. I didn't know they were. I just didn't know. And then it turns out later on, I was like, oh, they won. They were in the Final Four the year before, and they're playing them again now in this Final Four. So, and obviously, there's a really good team. I mean, I think the biggest thing for us, or for me at least, that being my first year just playing against all these like experienced guys. They're all huge guys, like all like 6'3", 6'4" above. And then Ben Boots, just how good he was. But yeah, I think it was just definitely first it was definitely a lot of fun. Second, it was a great challenge for us as a team, and we obviously played our hardest, competed the best we could, and they were just better that night, and they ended up winning the whole thing, which kind of is a good and a bad feeling. Where it's like, oh, they beat us up and they won, so maybe we would have won too, or like, good thing that they won because it justifies that they beat us, that we lost to the champions. So yeah, I mean, even though we lost, it was still a great experience, and it was something I'm gonna cherish forever, and just hope to get back to next year too.
Well, you certainly did the CCIW proud. I mean, you guys played really well. It was great to see Wheaton in the Final Four. Coach Schauer certainly worked hard to get you guys there. That was a fun season, and what a great run. I want to talk about your team this year. And I thought that you guys were a unique Wheaton team, and that a lot of times Wheaton teams, the knock on you guys is maybe you don't have a lot of depth. I can think of a lot of Wheaton teams in past years, like great starting fives, not a lot off the bench. But boy, this year, you guys were loaded. You were too deep at pretty much every position, or at least close to that. And you had Tyson Cruikshank, who's a great guard shooter, Kate Alioth, who was a do-it-all low post guy, strong, physical, athletic, great rebounder, could score. Luke Anthony, really physical two guard that can score in bunches. Colin New Vegas, Eli Considine, Gavin Hawkins provided size. I thought you guys really had a loaded team this year and a ton of depth. What was it like to kind of go through the season with that group of very talented players?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Just because of the fact that everyone on that team is very, very good. I think the biggest place we noticed that was in practice, where the starting five going against the second five was basically like a good CCIW matchup.
Right.
We have so many talented, like freshmen, sophomores this year who didn't get to play a lot just because we're still there. But when they get their chance, they're going to be very, very, very good. So I think that helped us a lot there. And then also just like in the games where we're able to go to multiple people, you can't really just like, you have so many places that we can score from, throughout everyone on the starting five and into the 2-3 deep into the bench where we can, call plays for whoever we want basically. So I think that just made it a lot of fun. It made it a lot really hard to defend us in specific ways. So yeah, so I think that's like those are like the main things.
You guys played well from start to finish in the year. I'm just curious if there was ever a thought on your roster when you looked at what Illinois Wesleyan was doing, and the Titans had a lot of games canceled for various reasons. And you guys are playing and playing well. When the Titans played, they were playing well. Did you feel like there was kind of a collision course between the two teams? Good chance of meeting in the CCIW title game. Was that something you guys were keeping an eye on? Was what was going around the league?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we probably all definitely knew. Never really talked about, because we're kind of just focused on the next games. But yeah, something that we definitely all were thinking about. We all wanted to play IU. I mean, they're obviously the other best team in the league this year. So we really wanted that game. We wanted to play against them, and I mean, we got it. So yeah.
In that game, I wasn't in the gym. Obviously, I was just watching the stream here in Dallas, Texas. But I talked to Coach Schauer about this. Is that you could tell how intense that was. Just watching the stream, you could feel it, you could hear it. Big games like that in the CCIW, Nyameye, usually have packed houses and student sections. Do you agree it was super intense, and was it weird that it was that intense with no one in the building?
Yeah, in the moment, didn't really realize it, but after the game and just looking back and thinking about how intense it was, like I would have thought it was a packed gym, and we're kind of just talking about like we can only imagine if it was a packed gym, like how much more intense it would have been, because it really did feel like a regular game with regular people in there, just because of the moment and the amount of energy that was brought to the gym by both teams. So it's kind of weird, but kind of normal at the same time.
And what were your thoughts on how that game played? It was a really close game. The Titans jump off to an early lead. You guys erase the lead. In the second half, you guys had a lead at some point. I think the Titans led maybe the final 9 minutes by like a basket most of the time. Titans hit a couple shots in the final 4 minutes to go from like up 2 to 5, et cetera. But it was a tight game. What are your memories of how that game played out? And just any thoughts on that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I remember they first kind of went out to that lead, and they were obviously excited and very happy about that. But I remember we always just kind of thought like we're fine, we're gonna be okay. As long as we just keep playing, we're gonna be good. The lead even backed out, and we're kind of just going back and forth from there. I mean, they're a really good team, so I mean, they're gonna make tough shots. We're really good. We're gonna make tough shots, like no matter how good either team defends. But yeah, I mean, going out into the last stretch, they really just hit a lot of tough shots, and we couldn't match that. And then they kind of just put it away from there. But I do remember definitely it just being a very tough, like competitive, physical game.
Yeah.
Going back and forth. They weren't really letting us get what we wanted. We weren't letting them get what they wanted. So I mean, they were better that night, and they won the game. But I still think it was a very super competitive game, and we played well.
Was it tough to not have an NCAA tournament, because it seemed like those two teams could have played again with even more on the line? Like I could have seen, much like you played Augustana in the Sweet 16, I could have seen those two teams in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. Was it sad? Was it frustrating that you didn't have an NCAA tournament to go play in?
Yeah, looking back, we're like, man, we both would have been in there. We both would have still been able to keep playing. So yeah, man, yeah, I'd say yes. But I think we at the same time we also since we knew there was no tournament, we kind of took that as like the championship game, and like that was the game to win. But Yeah, I mean, it definitely was kind of sad that we didn't have a tournament for that, but
It's
I
a
guess
good point, and that at least you guys both knew, but both programs seemed to know that that was their last game. I think both had decided they weren't going to pursue additional games, and so you could put that was your national championship. Both teams played knowing that that was it. So in that regard, I guess that was pretty cool, because it's not
Mhm.
often you get that kind of matchup, I suppose. Talk about postseason honors. The CCIW is a top 2 league in Division III. You were named most outstanding player. Just last week, you were named an All-American by D3hoops.com. Those are huge honors. I know you're more of a team guy than an individual guy, but what did those individual honors mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, first, I was very thankful for that. I just thank God for all those honors. I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm not really someone who's like looking for that stuff, but I mean, it's definitely great that I was able to be honored with those things. I mean, um, being like most outstanding player is obviously huge. I grateful for that, and being All American is just like is big too. No matter what kind of season we have, just because I mean, being voted as one of the top like 15 players in the country is a great honor. I'm just really thankful for that. I didn't really have much expectation for that. I mean, I guess I could kind of see it coming as the season came to a close, but I think it's just something that like I can hold on to now and just kind of be like, oh, that's a good accomplishment I had for that from that season. But yeah.
It's hard to do. Yeah, like you said, there were only 15 guys named to the All-American team this year. It's certainly hard to be named CCIW most outstanding player. So congratulations on that. I want to ask you about next year. And you don't have to answer any of this that's not settled, or if you don't want to, but you have a year of eligibility remaining, I think almost on 2 fronts. The first is because you missed your freshman year with that injury. So
Mhm.
you would have had another year anyway, but now there's this COVID waiver. Are you planning to return next year, or do you know that yet?
Yeah, I am planning on returning next year to play again.
That is wonderful news, because I think you'd agree with me that the CCIW is poised for an amazing season. So if
Mhm.
you're returning, I have some word that your partner in crime, Cade Alioth, might be returning. You have other guys ready to come back and step in. The Titans are ready to roll next year with a lot of
Mhm.
guys coming back. North Central, Blaze Meredith, I've heard he's coming back, and several other guys. Elmhurst, Jake Rohde.
Mhm.
Augustana's got those young guys, and 6'9" Daniel Carr and Carter Dua. We got Carthage with Philip Bulatovic, could be one of the best players in the league easily. We got a Carroll team that returns an incredible freshman class, North Park, that beat us and should have beat you guys. I'm just saying they
Yep.
could have got you too. They got us. They're going to be really good. Milliken's got a new coach. They're going to have some new recruits, some new energy. So, boy, would you agree that next year could be an amazing year in the College Conference of Illinois and Wisconsin?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm excited for it. Just knowing everyone who's going to be back and just knowing we're going to be able to play every other team at their best. Um, it's going to be a great test and it's going to be just a lot of fun.
It should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to next year. Like, I can't think of any year in recent memory. The level of talent will be incredible. And it's wonderful to hear that you will be part of that. Just a few more questions as we start to wrap this up. There's a hashtag out there, YD3. It's kind of something that people use when they see cool D3 things, to point out the unique nature of Division III. I'm just curious, Nyameye, your experience in Division III. Like, if you had to explain to someone why you have enjoyed playing in Division III and going to a Division III school, like, how would you explain that? What do you love about Division III?
I think biggest thing is it's just more than basketball. I mean, or more than any sport. But for talking about basketball, it's just more than basketball. I mean, yeah, we work just as hard as any other division. We love the game just as much as any other division. Um, but we also just spend a little bit of time away from the game. Like all of our academic work, that's pretty serious. We don't get any kind of leeway or benefits for that. Um, and then just the interactions we get off the team, I feel like something that might be unmatched anywhere else because of the fact that we're not always just basketball. We have time to, you know, cultivate friendships and relationships with other people. I think that's a really big benefit of Division three, where like some of our lifelong friends might come from off the team, and I'm not sure if you can get that at any other level.
Well, very well said. I always like to ask people close to the division kind of what their Division 3 story is, and that's very well said. Um, one other thing, I want to take you back to February 15th, 2020. This is a game played at King Arena, and the Wheaton Thunder were down 2 with 3.6 seconds to play. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you know which game and moment I'm talking about here. Is it fair to
Yeah.
say that this is triggering a memory here?
Yep.
So I'm sitting in this little room right over here, which is where I spend every Wednesday and Saturday night watching the Titans, Nyameye. And I think we've just won a big road game. We've just battled back. We are down, we come back, and we just got to survive 3.6 seconds. Talk to me about the timeout before that play. So you go to a timeout. You got to go the length of the court, 3.6, you're down 2. What does Coach Shower draw up, and what is the game plan for that possession?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember we go to the huddle, and he drops up the play, and I think the biggest thing was who was going to throw the pass. Um, the play was drawn up. We were getting ready to go, and he was just like, "Who can throw this pass?" And everyone was kind of just like sitting there, and then Gavin steps up. He says, "I can throw it." I'll throw it. And I'm like, "All right, let's go." And then we go break the huddle, and then he just says, Coach Howard told me to catch the ball and just win the game. So then I was like, so then kind of came out of the huddle, and everything kind of just flowed perfectly. And the play, we drew it up, and it worked how we wanted to have me catch the ball running towards our basket at the sideline. Obviously, Gavin made like a perfect pass, and then kind of just came and just shot the ball and just banked in. Um, if I'm being honest, I shot the ball and I thought it was going to go in. I didn't think it was going to bank. I thought it was going to go straight in, and then hit the backboard. And I'm thinking we just lost now, and then it's still going in. So I was kind of surprised, honestly, because I wasn't expecting it to go in after it hit the backboard, but then it just bounced in.
Well, my friend Bob Spear, who on Twitter is at Sport Theory 101, made a good comment earlier today when I tweeted that video out that you did a great job of getting yourself centered with the basket, because it gives you that other option that if
Mhm.
you're shooting it from a little bit off to the right, like the wing extended, and you miss it long, you don't have much chance. But
Yeah.
where you shot it from, you did a great job of getting pretty square to the basket. And the fact you shot it long, you got the bank. And then I've watched that video 100 times. You had 3 Titans all over you. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of like debate in Illinois Wesleyan circles, like they should have denied the ball and they should have done this. And I'm like, the dude shot a 38-footer at the buzzer, like with guys draped on him. You got
Yeah.
to tip your cap at that. At some point, you have to just say he made the shot, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know how they would have defended you much better than they defended you in that moment.
Yeah. It was. I did go back and watch the video, and it was just like, I mean, 3 of them are contesting the shot, and I didn't realize that in the moment. But I mean, I feel like, yeah, I mean, no one's gonna defend that much better. It kind of just at that point, the ball just goes in. It was kind of lucky for us, unlucky for them. um, but yeah, it was
Then you
a.
had like the year, was it 2 years before, I guess, was when Aston Francis made the shot at the Shirk Center. And so then you
Mhm.
hit that thing. So when I'm watching that game this year, you know that I'm paranoid about that game being less than a 3-point lead. And so until my guy Corey No makes that 3 and puts us up 10, I'm like, okay, I think we're okay. Because I was waiting for something really bad to happen. Not me. I'm
Yeah,
just telling you, I was really worried.
yeah. It was a definitely a great moment, fun moment. I mean, to me, kind of just dream about your entire like basketball creating a big shot, and I mean, just for me, I think it was that much sweeter that I was against Iowa just because of the rivalry there.
It
So.
was it was an incredible shot. It was an incredible finish. It was very painful as a Titan fan, but like I
Mhm.
said, you just got to tip your cap and say a great player made a great shot. Last thing, just shifting away from basketball just for a second before we wrap up. Probably the most important, relevant question. I watched you on a podcast called the Say Less Lifetime podcast. I think it
Mhm.
was done about a year ago, last June. And it was right after the George Floyd incident and all of this unrest in the United States. And I thought you had some really poignant comments just about, I don't know, race relations in the United States. And you made kind of a, quite frankly, a heartbreaking comment, which was that your dad talks to you about this stuff and said, I wonder, or I worry, at some point that's going to be my son that something like that happens to. And just in listening to that today and preparing for this conversation, I was mostly looking to pick up on basketball type background info, but that's what stuck with me is that part of the interview. I'm just curious, Nyameye, where we are today, race relations in the United States. It's been an ugly last 18 months. It's been really ugly. How do we start to get this in a better place? We're not gonna fix it immediately, but people like me, people like you, our friends, like, how do we start to put the pieces together and start moving this towards a better place? Just curious for your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very, very deep issue that's, has its roots in many, many centuries of injustice and stuff. But I think the main thing for me, at least, is really just being able to listen to each other, being able to like put that pride away if I'm always right or this person's always wrong, and putting away that mentality of like us versus them, and kind of just being like, we're all in this together, and we need to be able to uplift the voices of those who may be oppressed, or uplift the voices of those whose voices aren't as loud as ours, as one group over the other. And I think that's where it all has to start. I mean, just really coming together from the ground up, and it's just listening to each other, helping each other, and I think that really helps us move forward. Because I mean, there's really no benefit that comes from um, just arguing our points and trying to defend pridefully the points that we have when we're not listening to the other side and the struggles that they're going through selfishly. So yeah, I think that's like the main thing for me.
Yeah, that's very well said. What I hear you say is kind of that, like, listening and like seeking to understand each other. And I think that the way things play out on TV and people arguing on cable news programs just pushes people into their own little corner unnecessarily. So I'm hoping that you can use your platform and I can use my platform, and we can encourage others to use theirs to get people to, like you said, listen to each other, maybe try to understand. And that's very well said. And I just wanted to ask you about that because that was, to me, such a powerful part of that conversation you had last June, that it was important for me to ask you that. Final question, then I'll ask for any final thoughts that you have for the people tuning in today. I think you're a computer science major at Wheaton. Is that correct?
I am, yeah.
So what's the plan after Wheaton? Do you look at playing professional basketball overseas? Do you go right into something with computer science, or what's your game plan after next season?
Yeah, I mean, my goal since I've been a kid is always to play professional basketball. I'm definitely gonna still want to pursue that after next season. Um, and that's what I want to do. I want to play professional basketball. And then, I mean, if I get that opportunity, I'll definitely run with that. And then after that, yeah, I'll definitely. I also in computer science and software development specifically is like a passion of mine um, that I would love to get into after it's all said and done with basketball. So yeah, I think those are both strong goals I have, and both that are still on the table. So yeah.
That's great. And there's a lot of CCIW recent alums who can help you out in figuring out how to pursue the basketball thing. You've got people like Nolan Ebel, Krishan Orange, Brady Rose, just from the last 2 or 3 years, guys that have agents and kind of know how to start the process. So when you're ready for that, make sure to reach out and leverage those guys that you may have played against, a little bit, because they would, I'm sure, be glad to help you. But I hope you do pursue that. You can play overseas and you can play really, really well. And look, once you get over there on a good team and you start moving up levels,
Mhm.
you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I would just say, on my end, Nyameye, you're a real pleasure to talk to. And I'm sure that everyone at Wheaton is incredibly proud of you, both on and off the court. You're a great representative of Wheaton College, of the CCIW, of Division III. You're truly one of the like YD3 type people in the way you carry yourself. I wish you didn't make that shot in 2020. That was really painful for me, but I respect that you did. And I sure respect how hard it was for my alma mater to beat you and your team this past year. And I thought it was a wonderful game, and it's become a great rivalry. Um, Final thoughts on your end? There's going to be a lot of people tuning in to see what you have to say today. What would be the final thoughts for everyone that's tuning in?
Yeah, I mean, first I just want to say just thank you for having me on here. It's been a lot of fun and just talking to you, because obviously, I mean, just seeing all your tweets on Twitter and stuff like that, it's always just fun, and just being able to actually interact with you in person now is really cool. Yeah, I mean, overall, I just think I'm just really thankful to be able to play Division III, first of all, at Wheaton in the CCIW. And it's been a great opportunity. And just thankful for coaches, my teammates, and even who all we've played against. And I just think the main thing that I would just like say for everybody is just like Division III is like is for real. I mean, the talent level, the competitiveness, like it's all like serious. And I bet half the guys that we've played against here in the CCIW alone can play at any other level. So yeah, I think I'm just really grateful to be able to play in the CCIW and just be able to compete with the best teams and the best players like every single night.
Well, somewhere there's a recruit that's going to come up to Wheaton College, and this recruit is going to think that he's the greatest thing of all time, and he's going to come play an open gym with the Thunder, and a kid named Nyameye Adom is going to tell that kid that Division III is really good. So kind of that circle of life moment that you learned with Aston Francis is going to play out this coming school year as Coach Schauer brings kids to campus. That's Nyameye Adom, everyone, the 2021 CCIW MOP and a Division III All-American, led his team to a 12-1 season. Nyameye, we look forward to huge things from you next year. The best news out of this podcast is that you're returning. And I know there's a lot of Wheaton fans and alums that are celebrating that right now as they listen to this. So thank you so much for your time, my friend, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.